In the glitzy Asian city-state of Singapore, the sequins are out, limousines polished and hotel pillows plumped. The city's hosting Taylor Swift's Eras tour this week, an honor, but one that has come at a cost. That price was initially reported to be as high as 24 million Singapore dollars, 14 million pounds, $18 million, for the 6 shows to be exclusive to the Southeast Asian country. Culture Minister Edwin Tong has since told Singapore's CNA the figure was nowhere as high, although he still refused to be drawn on the exact figure. The broadcaster, however, suggested it may have been just 2 million Singapore dollars for all 6. But the fact any money had been spent only came to light after an outburst from the Prime Minister of Thailand, who accused Singapore of paying concert organizers $2 to $3 million per night. That triggered criticism across the region. In the Philippines, a lawmaker criticized the move, saying this isn't what good neighbors do, and called for a formal protest against the grant. But while governments are seeing red, it's the fans who are paying the price, literally. Swift is heard everywhere across Southeast Asia, home to roughly 700 million people, from alleyways in Ho Chi Minh to taxicabs in Bangkok. So for many it was a punch in the guts to learn all 6 shows would be held in the region's most expensive city. Singapore's currency, one of the strongest in Asia, has long been a deterrent for visitors. But for a chance to see their idol, many of her fans are willing to grin and bear it. Look what you made me do. Flightloads of fans have been touching down at Singapore's Changi Airport all week, many coming from China and its territories. Swift isn't playing in China, so Singapore is the next best thing for many. One woman flying in from Shenzhen told the BBC she and her friend had spent 1,200 Singapore dollars each on tickets alone. They've resorted to camping at a friend's house after hotel rates across the city surged. Taylor Swift in Sao Paulo. Image source: Getty Images. Image caption: Taylor Swift in Sao Paulo. On the luxe end of things, the city's landmark Hotel Marina Bay Sands has sold out of its 50,000 Singapore dollar Swift packages, which included 4 VIP tickets and a 3-night stay in a suite. Then there's 22-year-old Alan Dunca in the Philippines, who scraped together his wages to take him and his mother to Singapore. This Thursday, they'll take a 4-hour bus ride to Manila, stay at an airport motel for the night, then grab their dawn flight the next day. The enterprising student snapped up the travel package back in July. He eventually tracked down the tickets on a resale night after weeks of desperate hunting. "I am very lucky," he says of the 400 Singapore dollar outlay for seats in the nosebleed section. The seller was kind and not a scalper. Resales now are going for thousands. And he had almost fallen for a scam, a shady character named Pat Steve, later exposed online. He estimates the whole endeavor is costing him 2,000 Singapore dollars, the monthly income of an upper-middle-class family in the Philippines, a country where 1/5 of the population lives under the poverty line. "Right now, I'm a student with a part-time job and I can afford my wants and needs." But it's sad, other Swifties don't have any means or budget to watch her overseas, and I know most Filipino Swifties love her so much. The Philippines arguably has the most ardent Swift fan base. Spotify data showed Quezon City in Manila had played the most streams of the singer last year. The Filipino Swiftie drag queen dazzling Asia. The pop star has toured in the Philippines before, but the bag of money from Singapore undoubtedly sweetened the deal, say analysts. Clean, modern Singapore has long been seen as a base in the region for big events. It has the infrastructure, the transport links, and a high-earning, expat-heavy population. Spectators take photos of a pink water light show at Singapore's Marina Bay. Image source: EPA. Image caption: Swift-themed water and light shows on the bay are among the city's Swiftie attractions this week. It's also seen as reliably stable in a region which has experienced political chaos. A decade ago, Swift canceled her shows in Thailand because of the military coup and resulting protests. Still, while it's common for governments around the world to give out subsidies and tax breaks to bring in events, the reported spend goes beyond anything else publicly known in Singapore. Samir Hajar, a marketing lecturer at the National University of Singapore, says it's above average, even for the city-state. And fans are quite blunt. "It's kinda greedy," says Mr. Dunga. "But it's wise. because their economic response will be way more than that. But will it be, though? Show me the money. In Australia, the leg of the tour preceding Singapore, officials suggested the tour had provided a 145 million Australian dollars uplift in consumer spending. More than 570,000 tickets were sold across 7 nights in Sydney and Melbourne, nearly double the number sold for Singapore's 6 shows. But not all of that money counts, says economists. More than 90% of showgoers were probably local, estimates KPMG's chief economist Dr. Brendan Rinn, so their dollars would be just a transfer from one category of spending or saving to another. Only foreign visitors would have been adding to the books, and they accounted for just 2% of visitors, he estimated. After doing the maths, he projected Swift had added only 10 million Australian dollars, £5.1 million, $6.5 million, to GDP. Still, Australia didn't use public funds to have Swift play in the country, state government officials confirmed to the BBC. Neither did Japan, the only other Asian stop on the tour. What does Taylor Mania mean for the globe? Singapore has said Swift's tour will bring certain economic benefits to the country. But just how much net gain will be generated is unclear. The BBC has reached out to Singapore's tourism board, but they have refused to reveal foreign visitor estimates or other modeling. A local bank, Maybank, has suggested that consumer spending may top 350 million Singapore dollars, but that's based on the very optimistic prediction of 70% of attendees being from out of town. Even Singapore's Formula One Grand Prix only saw 49% of spectators from overseas in 2022, with a record 300,000 crowd. Singapore's F1 Grand Prix brings thousands of overseas visitors each year. Image source: Getty Images. Image caption: Singapore's F1 Grand Prix brings thousands of overseas visitors each year. When pressed on the numbers, Maybank's economist Erica Tay could not provide specifics, saying the 70% rate was based on Singapore's potential catchment, and the bank was not interested in estimating net profit. 6 concerts may not move a nation's economic growth materially, but the strategic value of Taylor Swift's endorsement of Singapore as a tourism destination outweighs that one-off boost, she said. But business professor Julian Kayla from Singapore's Nanyang Technological University points out that public spend should be scrutinized, especially when it's only revealed to citizens by another country's government. And in a country where welfare benefits are relatively limited, it could be seen as a fraught spend. To justify spending, reportedly, 24 million Singapore dollars on something that on the surface might not seem that critical to the economic health of the country over spending on people and public services, there's a tension there, Professor Kayla said. Nonetheless, he and others say that when it comes to planning tourism, governments have mandate to throw around money, and Singapore isn't an exception. They don't necessarily like to advertise it. But the minute the government sees something that fits into a long-term strategy, it will sink government money in to support that, he says. In a way, Singapore has just brought in Swift the same way it currently attracts huge multinational corporations. What's different here is that Taylor Swift as a business is a very emotional business, he said. It's dealing with the emotions of 10 to 18-year-olds who are very sad to not see the concert happening in Bangkok or Jakarta. And in the words of the songstress herself, that's caused a lot of bad blood.